Hello and welcome to What the Flick. We're here today with a very special guest to talk about a very exciting show. Kim Horcher from Nerd Alert has joined us. Jackie Coley from Black Girl Nerds and Rotten Tomatoes come to join us. And I'm Matt Atchity with What the Flick. We are talking about Star Trek Discovery, first new TV show in the Star Trek universe in 12 years, since 2005 that Enterprise was off the air. We got a new episode on CBS and then a second episode on CBS
Can we talk
All
about
Access.
that? I feel like it's the elephant in the room, which is, this is, in the US, it's exclusively on CBS All Access following episode 1. And outside of the US and Canada, it's on Netflix, and in Canada, it's on the Space Channel. It is the least accessible in the US.
Yeah.
You do have to pay between, I think, $6 or $7 and $10 a month in order to access it off of CBS All Access. And CBS All Access doesn't have that much on it to justify costing as much as Netflix.
But this is like a track pattern that CBS and Paramount have had with Star Trek. They always seem to gamble with how they're going to present these shows because they know they have a built-in audience. I mean, Next Generation had the first run syndication, and then the UPN basically got launched with either Deep Space or Enterprise.
Oh my God, UPN.
So they've always decided that, you know what, we're gonna take the Star Trek audience, play them as guinea pig to get what we want, because they know
For
we're
a dumb experiment.
Yeah, because we're gonna show up, basically.
I mean, yeah, I feel like this is a failed experiment waiting to happen. Eventually, because I know Netflix is funding this. Yeah. So maybe for season 2, they'll be like, all right, it's on Netflix now, which is what everyone would probably want.
Right.
And I feel we deserve
and then drop
that.
the whole thing at once.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
No, I feel like CBS is a very reluctant partner in any streaming service. They have one of the most limited, as far as their catalog, what they allow to have be on streaming services. It's like them and FX are just like, we hate Netflix, basically. So I don't know. I hope that they change their mind in season 2, but I have a feeling that they won't.
All right.
But that's what that's the comment everyone makes whenever you talk about Discovery. Tweet about it. It's an experiment and it will work, unlike All Access.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk, aside from the platform, which we kind of all agree stinks. But in spite of that, how do we like the first episode?
Are we reviewing 1 and 2 or just 1?
We can review either or both.
I watched them both together.
We've all watched them both.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm gonna go out here and say the way the first one ends, it doesn't feel like you can really talk about that without talking about the second one. It feels like they all just belong together.
It should be a 2-part intro pilot.
Okay.
Again, typical of Star Trek 2, you know, Farscape again was also a 2-part episode for TNG. They kind of start that way usually, But I feel like,
oh my God, this is so much better than Farscape.
I was just gonna say, like,
or not Farscape. I'm sorry. What was that first?
Enterprise?
Encounter at Farpoint.
Encounter at Farpoint. I said
was that
Farscape.
bonkers,
Farpoint. Yeah.
Farscape is that bonkers Jim Henson
yes,
show.
That's exactly,
Encounter at Farpoint was the
Farpoint
first
Station. Encounters at Farpoint Station,
which is
the
terrible.
first 2 of TNG. They're not great, but that's my whole point. I don't believe any of the Star Trek shows start off that strong. Usually season 1 is the weakest of every single series, except for, I would say, Deep Space Nine. So if this is the weakest they got, I have hope. I personally do.
I had mixed feelings on episode 1, but I liked episode 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought this was solid. I thought that it goes well together. Again, I'm not really thinking about them as separate pieces. I think there's a lot of good stuff going on here. Really,
what didn't you like about episode 1, just out of curiosity?
I felt the dialogue was very clunky and heavy-handed. Michael, without context, really irritated me because she's allegedly Vulcan culturally. But she breaks chain of command at every turn. Georgiou says fly by. She doesn't fly by. She goes inside. She kills someone. She nerve pinches the captain, which I feel like they glossed over too fast. If Riker had done that, we would not have blown that over. It would have taken forever to resolve. And I understand that she was right to make that choice. Eventually, we're proven that, but in the moment, she felt like she was making terrible choices that are not logical.
Yeah, and a couple things I want to point out, just in the rhythm of the show and the way it's written. That nerve pinch was what, like 20 seconds?
Yeah.
Good? Like, come on, like seriously. you have to assume that Michael knows how long she's got before.
And no one was
Michelle
on board with her.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing, and since we're talking about Michelle Yeoh, I'm gonna skip ahead to the final battle scene. I'm sorry, I don't care who the Klingon is. Michelle Yeoh is gonna wipe the walls with any Klingon. I'm gonna be a bit of a fanboy here, but like, it's hard to believe that
she would get her takedown that quickly.
It's a little bit, I guess part of it is, it's somewhat, I guess what I'm getting at really is that if you're gonna cast Michelle Yeoh in that role, I find it hard to leave behind the Michelle Yeoh
of Crouching Tiger and everything else.
Of decades of wuxia material that she's done. That's really hard to leave behind. And maybe that does a disservice to her as an actress because she's in, what is it, Sunlight, the Danny Boyle movie, or Sunshine, where that's never an issue. But it's still a little hard to leave behind when you put her in a fight scene.
But it's just, didn't we all kind of know she was gonna die?
No, they didn't. They did not.
I felt like I knew as a fan, just following tropes, oh, she's going to die. She's not the captain of the Discovery.
No, so I agree with you. If you're reading the fan boards and the message boards and Reddit and you knew that she's limited in the amount of stuff that we've seen her, like they did that sizzle reel at Comic-Con and it seemed like she only had like 2 shots. You're like, oh, she's gonna die. She's definitely gonna die.
I actually found myself probably halfway through the second episode thinking, holy crap, she's still alive?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when she said, I volunteer for the suicide mission, I'm like, I knew it.
Yeah. So I'm with you that I did not expect her to live longer, but people that are not that into the know, and they were just looking forward to the idea of having an Asian American captain, they didn't, because Twitter lit up last night as far as people being shocked, and then that tweet came out from the showrunner saying, we want to make this like Game of Thrones, and people were like, no, please don't, because we want to have some security in our Star Trek characters.
So that was a thing that I have to admit, like I thought of when they first talked about the casting for the show, and when we realized that we were gonna get Michelle Yeoh as the captain, but she was only in it for a little bit, I thought, I'm a little worried about what they're saying here because they've cast this Asian woman as a captain and then she doesn't survive the first show and then the next, and so then our woman of color is now persona non grata. She is convicted of mutiny, among other things, and we know that she's going to end up in this position where everyone's suspicion of, she's going to be valued, but she's going to have to redeem herself, and we get yet another white dude captain. And it's a little like,
a white dude captain with a name that is synonymous for betrayal because he's based off of Lorca, which is the supposed like communist defector. So like there's an idea basically saying that Lorca is probably going to be like a Captain Ahab, more like as a captain. He's not going to be the Picard.
Makes sense because he's not the focus.
No, and more importantly,
not that we haven't already gotten the Ahab moment in First Contact.
Yes, exactly. But I think like an entire season of that.
The one with the whales.
Exactly.
Or the one with the whales.
But to see.
All right, go for the obvious.
Yeah, to see Michael having to know that she has to be sort of obeying now because she's already been in trouble. She's probably gonna be coming back on probation. Like anytime you mess up or don't follow an order, you're out kind of situation. And then having to be a person that has to follow somebody that may not necessarily have the Starfleet's best interest. I think that is gonna be a really interesting dynamic. It's like she's gotta obey orders possibly for a crazy person.
Well, these are among debates that Star Trek loves. I mean, we also had that in the episode 2 where it's just like, or I don't know, episode 1 or episode 2, but the part where they're getting into the battle and it's like, we have to do the Vulcan hello and I don't want to do it. And it turns out aggression was the correct answer on both sides. And then
listen to Black women. I think there was a great quote from my editor-in-chief at Black Girl Nerds. It was like, this is like the theme of the evening. Let's listen to Black women. And then like another one of our contributors was like, 94%, voted against our current situation. Just listen to us. We will prove you right. Just kidding.
That's a viral tweet.
It really was. It was great.
But yeah, I mean, on that note, it was a little heavy-handed. It's not that I don't appreciate what they're setting up, but the execution was heavy-handed with like, keep Klingons pure, make Klingons great again. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I get it, and you're right. I feel like the dialogue definitely. What is the word I'm looking for? The fact that Brian Fuller was gone, you feel his absence as a showrunner and writer.
That's a diplomatic way to say it.
Yeah, like Alex Kurtzman, for good or bad, I feel he's a great guy with ideas, maybe not so much with dialogue. Did anybody else see The Mummy? Because I did.
Yeah,
just saying. Yeah, just saying.
I'm glad you brought that up though, because I think the overarching story of how we get, for years in the Star Trek canon, we've always heard that there was this disastrous kind of first contact and never really know what led to the war. So I found that this was a really interesting, as far as the ideas and the concepts that go into this, and there's this messianistic moment that a Klingon comes in and unites the entire empire, and because they found a seemingly worthy adversary who isn't, and the irony of this adversary not really even wanting to fight, that's not what they're interested in. I found that really smartly set up, and the dialogue doesn't quite hold up, which is frustrating. And you've got some great casting choices here. I mean, look, let's talk. Sonequa Martin Green, I think, does this really great balance of a character, especially in the flashback scenes. You get to see her fresh off Vulcan
with the haircut,
and very, very kind of one note. And then you see, as in what we're seeing as the present, there is more emotion there, but still it's not her go-to kind of setting. I think Doug Jones as Lieutenant Saru, I really like.
Yeah.
I love.
I think he's going to be my favorite character.
Yeah, and I love him having a bigger role because he's always the monster that doesn't say anything.
Yeah,
and so he's got
great job.
Yeah, he does great when he's
Doug
given
Jones more work.
Give him more to do.
And then Frayne as Star Trek. Is it James Frayne is the actor's name?
As Sarek?
As Sarek. Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. I liked him a lot. I thought that was really good casting. I like him as an actor.
And that's a hard role to take over, obviously, because it's such an iconic character from everyone that's played it, but especially from TNG, especially the actor that played it throughout
after Mark Lenard.
Yeah, exactly. So
who also shows up as a Romulan later, right?
Really? Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Oh yes, I totally forgot. Yes, it's always so weird with Star Trek characters. It's like you can put enough makeup on someone, and they can totally be an entirely different character if they want to give them the right moment.
Yes. I was so as far as effects go, I don't have a problem with the Klingons looking the way they do, because I think the Klingons look different in every series.
Yeah. Right.
I did have kind of an issue with how slow they talk.
Yeah, there's been a device, this is another part of the divide, I would say, on Twitter. Some people feel it is very accurate because they got these very Klingon experts to dissect the language, because originally when Klingon was written, it was written to be spoken around heavy prosthetics, and so it's really guttural. There's no TH sounds, only no S sounds, whatever. And so they're leaning heavily into that. I heard there's this whole conversation about how they wanted to make it look like, obviously this takes place in the timeline before the original series. So how do we make it look like that without betraying the fact that obviously technology is better now? And so maybe they lean too heavily into that, is my point.
It just, the how slow they do it makes me think they don't know what they're saying and they've just phonetically memorized it.
Well, and you think that guys that are fighting all the time and live for battle, maybe they talk
too
faster,
much.
And too slow.
I mean, I don't know why they chose that, but I think it was on purpose. Give us a reason.
And go for it.
Give us a reason.
Yeah, look, I think the production design here is terrific.
Yeah.
I love the designs. I mean, look, we have a whole new look of production here. And I personally don't really have a problem that it may not fit in some people's idea of continuity. Fine, right?
Well, do we want something that looks pre-1960s? I don't want to watch that. So yeah, stylistically, it doesn't fit continuity-wise, but I'm on board.
Yeah, I'm glad that I feel
go
like
see Space Station 76.
Yeah, don't go back to where we have to lean to make it look like we got hit. I mean, let's not do that anymore. But I do think with the phasers, there's a great illustration of how they did that modernly, but they also use the original series sort of design, and even the spacesuits. So every series has their own suit, right? But this one gets closer to the original series, and it does look like it would have been a previous version of a then more updated outfit, because it does go back to that kind of more materialistic with the stripe look. So
the gold thing.
I do feel like they did take care to make sure that they balanced a lot between the two, and it's a hard thing to do. There's a reason why you don't want to go backwards.
Right.
Why everyone else is like, let's go forward.
But they got the pointy sideburns right.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, and I like, you mentioned Sonequa's arc through the first 2 episodes, the fact that she starts very Vulcan and then she gets more human. I do like at the sizzle reel at the very end, where they're showing what the entire season's gonna get, that girl goes natural. She looks like she's just embracing her human even more, maybe because she feels her actions don't allow her to be Vulcan, since she made
I agree with that statement.
And I think that I honestly am glad for that. I think that's a great aesthetic choice. Plus that Sonequa Martin Green has just amazing hair. I see you, girl. Looks good.
I do like that she out-logicked the computer. That Michael out-logicked the computer to get her out.
That was a great moment, and that she walked her through that. And I think that that kind of, I think, is where that character will be in that, sort of Spock-esque division between human and Vulcan, where
but the other way.
But the other way, where I feel like she was sort of indoctrinated and, I hate to say almost brainwashed, but in a certain way, if you talk about the mind meld situation that her and Sarek had, maybe it was. I mean, he talked about having a part of his soul implanted in her.
I didn't view it as a negative thing.
No, but it's still something that's hard for her to maybe fight against.
Well, I mean, he raised her. She's his ward, he said, right? Not my daughter.
But what about the mind thing where he's
his Robin?
He's Ward, but would Batman put parts of his brain inside Robin?
He would if he could.
Like that was
he totally would if he
totally
could.
would.
Yeah, that was
he would.
That one. Didn't I gasped when I was like, what? Like I was so like it was good. It was a real. I don't know what to say. It felt really like very intimate with like a child. Very early on to do that.
I viewed it as paternal.
It was, I guess, but. Does he have the same thing with Spock? Like,
not really.
No, because fathers and dads don't get along that way.
It's easier for dads to love daughters.
You can't mind meld with your son because that would break down like you have to be.
But don't you think that's weird that they met this stranger child and he took this really intimate act to her like right off the get?
I thought they had already known each other at that point. I had thought. But who knows? I think we're going to get more of that.
Yeah.
I suspect we will get more of that art history.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe we'll get more Michelle Yeoh in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I just want to know a reason for why he did that. Like, get me to your logic on that moment because that is a pretty intense moment and that is a pretty
that's a fair criticism.
Permanent thing to do.
Right.
Because I felt very weird about Michael until they explained more about her in episode 2. So I think as we get further and further, we'll understand it better.
Yeah.
I think it's a slow burn.
So
I agree.
For the most part, I really like the show. The one thing that I know this is going to sound stupid, and I just have to get past. It irks me to no end that her name is Michael.
I'm okay with it.
Like it just like I don't know. It just like
would you rather have a Vulcan name?
No, like I'd rather just I don't know. It's just like something that is so obviously like typically a dude's name, and it's just like.
Doesn't the director typically give women men's names?
I
think
don't know.
So.
I don't know. It's.
Every Michael girl that's out in the audience right now that is lighting up the comments to yell at you.
I'm sorry.
Yes, all the girls named Michael.
There are though. I've met a girl named Michael and Charlie. Charlie and Michael. I've met a couple.
I've met Charlie's. I've met Sam's. Yeah.
Kim is a boy's name.
Let them know in the comments, ladies. I guarantee you guys are out there.
All right, I'm wrong.
No, I don't know if you're wrong, but I'm sure there's someone out there. I mean, if there's apples out there, there's got to be a female Michael.
I think they'll explain it. My guess is that it's an homage to her Earth father.
Probably, or something like that.
Or something. Or Sarek knew a Michael and was like, cool.
Yeah, it just registers weird with me when you hear it.
Yes.
I'll get used to it.
The first time I was reading about the character, I kept on thinking I was reading it wrong because everyone kept on saying Michael and it just made me really confused. The thing I will point out and I wanted to come back to is your idea that they have the beats but the dialogue doesn't hold up to it. I have a feeling like this has got to get fixed because I do feel Brian Fuller came out and said like he has the beats for like the first 3 seasons already mapped out, and that was one of the reasons why he felt comfortable leaving because he was like, I'm not leaving this in a bad situation. I'm still executive producer and they know where they need to go. And the fact is that where they're filling in the gaps is actually where it's not that great. Has me really worried because
whereas if you have been watching American Gods, that dialogue is great, right? The leprechaun is calling her dead wife.
Yes.
Right? Like the way they speak in that show, over and above whatever Gaiman may have written, is top notch.
Yes, it is top notch. And I feel like that's another example of like Gaiman gave you the beats and then Brian Fuller gets to play with between the lines. That's also why Hannibal was so beautiful when he did that. Like I feel he's a perfect showrunner for that type of situation. It's why they probably signed him on to do this. I'm extremely concerned with the fact that the current writing staff is not filling in his gaps that well. And maybe I'm giving him more credit than is due, but when they went to Comic-Con in 2016, he was pretty clear. It was like, no, we know exactly where this is going, and we have for a while.
2 Star Trek Discovery press conferences, one this year, one last year.
Very different.
It was different.
Yeah, very different, and that's my biggest concern.
Well, I think we all at least hope for the best.
I do hope for the best. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But to see that's
It's not perfect, but it's good.
It's good.
It's good.
Yeah, and
It's good.
I'm gonna put down again that Star Treks don't normally start off good. So if we're starting off at a C+, B-, I'm going to hope that they keep in the normal trajectory of getting better.
Yes.
I'd be with you on the B- grade.
Yeah.
I'd be with it.
I'd give it a B, but I'm like an easy teacher.
Well, we will be back next week with episode 3.
Yes.
I think they're just
Episode
releasing
3.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, although I'd love if they released them all at once.
I would love if they took it off of All Access. I feel like
I think
the
everyone
show
wants that
deserves
because
more.
it does deserve more because it's a Star Trek. So Star Treks are known for being groundbreaking and for being so influential. And the idea that maybe kids with less affluent parents won't get to see this because
Yes.
it's locked behind this paywall is sad.
And
So,
it's a troubling trend that I feel
think-
like it needs to be fixed.
I think we should start a campaign. Call up CBS and Viacom and Paramount, and when they pick up, ask for the Star Trek department and just yell, "God!" Right?
Or put it on Netflix. Like if it's
Or
on
put it on
Netflix,
Netflix.
Put it on
that's
Netflix.
fine.
They funded it. It's on Netflix outside of here.
I like my idea.
Yeah, you just want to yell at them.
Or just yell at people.
Just yell
I mean,
"Con"
that always works.
all the time.
Yeah, and CBS needs some good press because they've had a very troubling press line when it comes to shows featuring women and minorities this
There are
current season.
0 shows on CBS
Yeah.
now led by a woman.
Yeah.
And the only other one, The Good Fight,
Is
led
also
by a
on
woman,
us.
is on All Access behind a paywall.
Yeah.
So the only all access for anyone is on All Access? Is that what we're saying?
Basically,
If you are-
yeah. The only way you can get access is on All Access. And again, it's a troubling trend because there's a reason why people cut the cord was because of rates. And if everybody starts giving their own itty bitty, get me $10, get me $10, get me $10,
It's not gonna work.
We're gonna be right back where we were. So
Well,
No, people won't do it.
and people won't do it. That's what I'm saying. They're gonna like just be like HBO and Netflix and that's it. It'll
oh, this show would have been amazing on HBO.
you know what I mean? But like that'll be what happens. And I hate to say it, it will, you know what, fine, keep doing what y'all are doing, or Disney, because Disney's about to come up with theirs. And so people will pay for those 3 and say, screw the rest.
All right, well, join us next week. We'll talk about episode 3 and we'll be here for the rest of the season, and it's gonna be awesome. So thank you guys for joining.